is the 77 WABC minicast.
Oh, baby, here we go. College basketball. You know this instrumental theme. Let's get it going, folks. College basketball tournament. Everybody cares. They don't care all year long until literally yesterday. But today, everybody cares. Every child, every adult, every male, every female has filled out a bracket. Maybe they went to Duke. Maybe they went to Michigan. Maybe they went to 4 colleges like me. I was so good at it. Maybe they went to Syracuse like my next guest. You know, Syracuse happens to be the university where a lot of our all-time great broadcasters went to. Craig Carton's coming up next. He's one of them. He's a Hall of Famer. He's terrific. He's the best, I believe, the best sports talk host in the country. But you've got everybody from Marv Albert. I believe he went there. And Mike Tirico. And who's a douchebag? St. Louis does. Bob Costas, that jerk off. And you got, who else? Stevie Goldstein. He does the Panthers down in Florida, just in case my friend Vinny Viola's listening. Those are bigger names, too, I know. Ian Eagle, I think, went to Syracuse, and his son, Noah. But Craig Carton now is the afternoon host again on WFAN. Why? He gets great ratings. He's great at it. And he's a Hall of Famer. Also, Fox Sports 1. Craigie, good Thursday morning. I know, big day for you guys. How are you?
Doing great. Today is, for a lot of people may not know this, but today's actually Father's Day for guys like us, because no matter what the little lady says, my ass is on the couch watching basketball, pretending like I can name a single player on any roster in college basketball.
I'm so glad you said that, because, look, you host a show that gets the biggest ratings in the country talking sports. Now, I mentioned earlier today, Craig, that back in 2000, 26 years ago, I first came to New York to work at WNEW, but I worked at the Fan, and Mike Francesa had this big college basketball pool with the likes of Jim Nance and Billy Packer, and one year I made it to the finals. It was the year that Connecticut beat Georgia Tech. I lost. He had Connecticut Mike. My daughter Ava was born the next day. But I could tell you every player on those Georgia Tech teams, Connecticut teams. I got to tell you, I like Iowa State. I don't know why. I don't know any players. I love St. John's. I know one player, Zuby. That's it. It is. Right. But really, it's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's the fault of college basketball, who these guys come for 1 year, Craig, and then they're gone.
Yeah, it's the NIL problem and the transfer portal problem, and there's no loyalty. There's no you don't build a relationship with a kid that comes in as a freshman, and then you watch him for 3-4 years. Play for one college. It's not like that, which is also why, as much as the tournament's still the perfect sporting event, the upsets don't exist the way they used to, because all the talent is now consolidated, amongst, let's say, the top 15 or 20 schools. So, the days of the ragtag NC State Jim Valvano team beating the Houston 5 Slamma Jamma team, those games don't happen as often. But your audience needs to know that way back in the day, in 1997 and 1998, that their favorite morning show host, Sid Rosenberg, used to have the Jewish March Madness on an open court run in Boca Raton. And I played a few of those games with you. And you used to be like, all right, look, don't take the Goldberg kid in the first round. He can shoot from 3.
The good old days. You're right, Craigie. The good old days at Patch Reef Park, the old Jewish. Oh, those were great. And listen, for folks that don't know, Craig, I'm not sure if you still play ball or not, but there was a time.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, because you were really good. I mean, you were a really good player.
Well, you and I had a battle. I'm not sure if you remember it. It was, I think, your first radio agent was there. I'm not going to say his name. And we were playing King of the Court in the basement gym at your Riverdale apartment.
What a memory.
Where I think I spent the night one night when I was coming into New York to try to get the WNEW job. And I remember we played a mean game of King of the Court, and I was like, your agent sucks at basketball. You should fire him.
Well, you got a great memory. His name is Bobby Barrett. He got me the apartment in Riverdale for me and Danielle. You and I ate at Josephine's that night in Riverdale. You did sleep over. You ended up getting the job at WNEW. But even bigger than that for you and I was when we went to cover the Super Bowl together, when the Giants got their ass kicked by the Baltimore Ravens. And we ended up playing a 2-on-2 against your buddy Sal from ESPN. I love that guy. And some guy from the Baltimore Ravens. They were the biggest hacks.
Kevin Burns. Burns.
Yes, Kevin Burns. And all they did was try to hurt us physically.
Yeah.
But we still won because you were the best player on the court.
I think possibly they might have been anti-Semitic. It's definitely on the table. No. It was a 2-2 game. It was my dear friend Sal Palantonio at ESPN and Kevin Byrne, who was the longtime VP of Communications for the Cleveland Browns. And then when they moved to Baltimore, he kept that job in Baltimore and retired a few years ago. But we used to get loose back in the day. We had some fun, no doubt.
Oh, we had some fun. All right, so tell me about this tournament, Craigie, because this will be all you and Chris will be talking about this afternoon. Duke, the 1 seed in the East. Florida, the 1 seed in the South. The Wolverines, the 1 seed in the Midwest. And Arizona out West. Again, I did watch a lot of Iowa State in their conference tournaments. I don't know why, but I like that team. They're the 2 seed in the Midwest. And, look, that's not a Cinderella story, a 2 seed like you were saying, like NC State beating Houston. Or that Villanova team beating Patrick Ewing in Georgetown. But I do think that the 2 seed Iowa in the Midwest can win the whole thing. But I don't know anything. What does Craig Carton think?
Like, that Caitlin Clark doesn't play for them, right?
He doesn't?
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to... I know you brought me on here as the sports guy, but one of the things, I made a pledge to my audience, I'm sure you've done the same, 34 years ago, is I'm never going to lie to the audience. So the thing I don't get about the tournament, and I can't tell you a single player in Iowa State, so I'm not going to be telling you I can. What I'm trying to figure out is, take St. John's, because I know St. John's fans are upset about being a 5 seed, not a 4 seed, and being the same, bracket with Duke and Michigan State and Kansas and Louisville, et cetera.
Forget about all that. The worst part of all is, forget about all that. The worst part of St. John's is, they put Rick Pitino and those poor bastards in San Diego tomorrow night.
Well, this is the thing I don't understand. And I minored in geography at Syracuse. How is it that you're playing in the Eastern bracket, but your first 2 games are in San Diego? Like, that makes sense.
Stupid. It's stupid. They do end up in Washington, D.C., but you're right. It is stupid.
Like, they're the first-round games in Philadelphia, which is a trash can of a town right now, but at least it's on the Eastern Seaboard. How are you in the Eastern bracket playing in California? I don't get that. And I minored in geography. It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense to me either. Yeah, but I'll watch it. I'm flying down to Florida today. I've got some family responsibilities, my cousin and my mom, all that stuff. So I'll try to catch up.
First class or no?
Yeah, what's that now?
You flying first class?
No, I'm not flying first class. And odds are I'll be online for like 16 hours and miss about 3 flights with the whole DHS shutdown. But I want to
tell your family you're going to meet them in Florida because you ain't making that flight.
I know. But I want to ask you about the Jets because an old quarterback is now a new quarterback again. We talking about what the Jets are going to do at quarterback. And I know a lot of Jet fans hated him, but you can't argue that he played good football out in Seattle under Pete Carroll for years. Last year he was awful for Carroll in Vegas. But Geno Smith is back as the quarterback of the Jets. You wouldn't rather have him right now than, I guess, just about anybody else? Do you draft a good quarterback?
No. And I tell you why. Geno Smith has the distinction of doing something no quarterback in the history of the NFL has ever done. So let's play this out, okay? So 2 years ago, he is in Seattle, like you said, and I'm not going to deny it. He had a couple decent years in Seattle, right? So he leaves Seattle, and in the very first year he leaves Seattle, they win a Super Bowl with a journeyman quarterback named Sam Darnold.
True.
He goes to Las Vegas, and he's so bad in Las Vegas, he gets the Raiders the number 1 overall pick. So let that sink in. He leaves one team, they win a Super Bowl the very next year. Yeah. He goes to another team, they get the number 1 pick.
Wow.
I'm not a fan of Geno Smith. I respect the fact that he did figure out how to play football and was the comeback player of the year a couple years ago. He's also the only quarterback in football history to have his jaw broken by a backup linebacker on his own team in his own locker room.
I remember that.
Why in the world we'd want Geno Smith back, I don't know. And I think outside of that, I think Darren Moogie, the general manager of the Jets, has had a terrific offseason outside of that one decision.